Folks, our first on-demand workshop, How to Become a Coffee Consultant, is now available for you to learn at your own pace for just €50, and it comes with a certificate upon completion. Go to mapitforward.coffee/workshops or click the link in the show notes for more details. Support this podcast by supporting our sponsors. Welcome to the Daily Coffee Pro by Map It Forward, friends. I'm your host, Lee Safar, and this is episode 3 of a 5-part series, and we have Martin from Mayorga Coffee. Martin, we are going to approach financing and financials in the coffee industry and in coffee business models. The part of this discussion that I really want us to, you're a finance guy, right? Like, yes, you're a businessman, but you're not a businessman in the coffee industry that's in it for the coffee per se. You're not leading that way. You're leading with a very finance-focused approach to running a business, which is a breath of fresh air from where I'm sitting. Let's have a conversation about what's really going on about financing in the coffee supply chain.
Well, I think the first thing to note is something very obvious. Coffee is the number 2 traded commodity in the world. So if you're in the coffee industry, I don't care if you think you're special and you're buying this special, unique, you're within the tentacles of that reality. And what is that reality? When you see something that's heavily traded as a commodity and is basically an asset that moves and transacts, and money's made by movement and velocity and transactions, well, that's a great place for the money to go and look for opportunity. Mm-hmm. So the financing of coffee is really the primary business. Coffee is the secondary business when it comes to how it moves, right? Because a lot of banks, a lot of financing groups love coffee, right? Especially when you get into the lower quality where you can fix against the market and do hedging and manage your futures, and it gets pretty sophisticated. Mm. But we are all subject to that reality. And those that are financing coffee at any scale, if you're buying a bag or 2 a year, it's, you can put it on a credit card. But if you're moving at any scale and you think you're buying from this direct trader who they're dealing with one of 5 companies really that is in this industry. And in the US, one of one bank that really, they don't even like to be called a bank, but you're part of that. And you're either contributing to it or subject to it or being penalized by it or being part of an oppressive system that keeps that financing as a tool to make money on the backs of the poorest people in the world, with abusive interest rates, abusive practices of collateralizing debt with land that ends up being taken, collateralizing that debt with conditions where they have to buy the fertilizer and the inputs and do this and do that based on our terms and conditions because we loaned you this money. It is the ugly reality of coffee, and it's been what I've been trying to fix and work on. And look, I didn't know about the realities until what I did is I lived in Nicaragua. I spent the first 10 years of my business in the coffee world was focused on being down there and listening and asking the questions. And who owns this mill and who finances it? And, you catch people in lies that way. I mean, I literally had a mill that we were very excited to work with in Nicaragua. And my lawyer, I had a lawyer who actually, we have our own export company down there. I mean, it's so bad that we own export companies in different countries because even the export companies then take too much of a cut. So I said, well, let's just open our own. He told me before we met with this mill that the real owners were basically bankers that then kind of put in the management team, but the banks kind of hide in the background. So anyway, we were talking to them about this program that they're touting about how if we bring our business to them and then we move our contracts to them, then they can finance our farmers and it's this great thing. But I'm a person who, I don't take anything for face value. I said, okay, so walk me through it. Tell me this, tell me that. Before you know it, we find out that, let's say we had a contract at $2.50 when the market was $1.40. A producer brings coffee to them for our contract, and this is just a mill. Their job should be to mill coffee, export it, and that's it, right? But no, they see opportunity beyond that. So they're going to bring in $100 of coffee against our contract. These people will pay them market price for that coffee, charge them interest until I pay, for the full contract. So basically, they're taking the entire delivery of coffee against a contract that $2.50 or whatever it might be, paying $1.40 for it, calling it a loan, even though you're holding all their coffee, you essentially bought it for my contract. It's just the manipulation is just, it's not just the global big picture. It's also what is happening in these countries and what is happening in these mills. Who owns these mills? Why does one major company own the mill, the export company, the import company under 6 different names? Where did these other, new direct trade brokers come out of, and how are they getting financed? Financing is everything. I hate to say it, but money moves the world, and money can really fuck things up.
And it's a predatory monopoly, right? Like that's the real problem here. It's the predatory monopoly that happens with having access to all the money, where you now own the fertilizers that these farmers have to use because they owe you money, and in return for all of that, you have to use their fertilizers. They're going to charge you. I mean, it's a self-perpetuating cycle of constant debt to the same overlords.
It is. And trust me, I've had situations in a country. One time we did a fixed price contract with a family, paying them very well. And one of my conditions was, you can't mill through these people because this is one of the multinationals. I don't trust them. And part of my role is to break you away from these kind of systemic, impoverishing relationships. And I will never forget, the granddaughter of the original owner of the farm said, but they've helped us so much.
That got to break your heart.
And I said, well, how have they helped you? How has your life improved in 3 generations? Where is the help? Is just being around help? Is just being the one person that you're able to sell to help? Or is that basically monopolizing your entire future by taking advantage of you? And you're now in the 3rd generation. Where's the new house? Where's the growth? It's the same life.
It's inherited debt. That's the problem. Every coffee crisis we go through, there's bigger and bigger inherited debt. And I hear it from producer after producer after producer. It's a massive problem. And folks,
let me interject one other thing.
Please.
I'm sorry.
No, you go ahead.
Let's not forget that roasters are subject to this, right? They think, I'm going to buy from this trader and they're going to give me 60-day terms.
We're going to say the same thing. Go on.
It's the same freaking group.
Yeah.
Right? They might have a cool, fun name in the US or the UK or Australia. It's the same people that are down there exploiting the people that you think you're helping. And now the only reason you work with them is because they're willing to finance you. So think about how powerful being the one that holds all the money is. You control an entire industry.
And because the margins are so slim, and because people are getting into business not knowing how to run businesses, and because you're competing against people who you think started at the same starting point as you, there are coffee companies out there that have the flash packaging and many beautiful stores and all this kind of stuff that you want to aspire to as a coffee roaster and as a cafe owner. The part of the story that you're missing, folks, is that they are funded by massive VC companies. There are venture capitalists out there that have a vested interest in funding these businesses. And you don't know about it because they're not telling you about it. And so what you're trying to do is to aspire to those companies thinking that you have a shot. You run your business at next to nothing. So then what are you done? Then what happens? You're beholden to the finance companies to help bail you out with credit to buy green coffee, containers, your forward contracts for containers. And now you're a part of the vicious cycle as well. We have said it a million times on this podcast. The coffee supply chain, we have checked and checked and checked and checked and checked. The people who make the money in the coffee supply chain are not people who are custodians of coffee. It is the banks and the landlords. That is who makes money in the coffee supply chain. And it's infuriating.
I'd love to tell you a little story that highlights this.
I love your stories.
I have to be careful about names. I have so many stories. I mean, we've been in the trenches forever. I was buying coffee from a group that emerged, early 2000s or so. And I wasn't buying coffee. So what I was doing was I sourced from my producers. This group did my trade financing, right? And I literally was moving all my coffee through UPS, which a lot of people don't realize. UPS was picking up containers at mills, taking them to port, bringing them to the US, and literally on the UPS trucks bringing it to me. So I handled logistics through UPS. This group came in and financed the trade, and I think they marked the coffee like 2 cents. That was our deal, which is fine. You're adding a service, you're paying, you're handling a lot of things, and you give me money, so I'm going to pay for that. we were doing very well. We get a letter one day from another coffee company that says, we have acquired X, Y, and Z trader. This is you're now, in our portfolio. Great to have you on board, blah, 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 blah. Great. Backing up a little bit, this same coffee company had personally flown me in a private jet to their facility because they wanted to acquire my company and bring me on board. And I said no. So I get this letter. Oh, good. This is kind of weird. Like now they're the ones that I worked through for my trade financing. 2 weeks later, I get a letter saying, we have analyzed your account and we've decided that your line of credit, which is substantial, is in the millions of dollars, is we're cutting it to $500,000. So based on this analysis, you're now out of terms in excess of like $1.52 million. We require payment. Yeah, we require payment within the next 7 days, or we'll take this matter to the courts, whatever. I'm like, what the hell is going on here? They send their CFO and some other guy to my office and basically say, look, we can do one of two things. We can put you out of business, or we convert this debt into equity.
Motherfuckers.
And I'm sitting there like, I don't want to sound paranoid, but did they do this entire deal just to take my business? Because we have some very good customers that know us, like us, love us, and we've done business with for years. And frankly, we've been approached by many companies to acquire us because of those relationships. So they literally maneuvered things so that I would be indebted to them, arbitrarily changed my payment terms. And oh, by the way, I had coffee that I had imported that was sitting in their custody, and they said, you have to pay us these millions of dollars and take all this coffee at once, or we're gonna put you out of business, or we'll just turn this into equity basically on your company. And my whole thing is, look, I'm independent. I built this business from nothing. When you start from nothing, you fear nothing and you have nothing to fucking lose. I said, great, take my company. Good luck. I'll go down fighting. Yeah. You think I can't do this again? You think my name and my reputation, my relationships can't be, take the money, take the coffee, take my house, take my shoes. Yep. I don't care.
Yeah.
Because that's not what built this, and that's not what this is about.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I never had anything before. And I don't attach myself to material. But these are the things that happen in coffee that people don't talk about. A lot of the acquisitions you've seen in the last 6 months and will see in the next 2 years are not people saying, I'm going to sell my business and cash out. They're basically, and if you're smart, do the math. If a big trader buys a small trader, it's because that small trader was indebted to that big trader, couldn't pay their debt. And now they're going to buy them out by basically saying, well, you owe me $5 million. I'm going to convert it to equity. I now own you. But the press release says so-and-so has sold to so-and-so for millions of dollars. And I was like, wow, they cashed out. And then guess what? People are like, trading business is a good business. I'm going to get into it. And a lot of it's fire sales and bailouts. And I just, I think the thing that frustrates me is people don't want to do this kind of exploratory process of knowing what the industry is. And I think, going back to the original topic, which is, unfortunately, a lot of it's about finance. Because money moves the world and money moves people. And I can tell you that I have seen money it's disgusting to me. Look, I'm successful and I have nothing against being financially successful. It turns people into some ugly creatures sometimes. And unfortunately, a lot of those ugly creatures amass more of the money because that's their focus. And when they amass a lot of that money, they lose sight of humanity. And I think we have to, and we owe it to the people that our industry pretends to care about. We owe it to them to understand what this looks like. Look, I'm in London right now, and I'm on my way back from East Africa. Part of the reason I'm here, and I've been to other countries before this, is to meet with people that can help me create my financial model to be more efficient through, better financing. And that literally is a focus for me all the time. I'm always looking for better ways to finance my business, finance my producers, create long-term value. It's getting harder and harder because we're living in a world with interest rates that are exploding and the cost of money for everybody is high. But if you're not working on how you finance your business, who you finance with, you're kind of running in quicksand. You might have a great brand, a great product. You might think your margins are X, but they're really Y. It's just so important.
And the risk is about to go up, folks. The risk is about to go up. People, finance companies are about to get more suspicious and more stringent about lending money because the next 2 years in business, and especially, our business is the coffee industry. The next 2 years in our business is going to really lean into Warren Buffett's famous saying, when the tide goes out, that's when you see who's swimming naked.
Mm-hmm.
This is the next 2 years the tide's going to be going out. And we're really going to get to see who's going to get eaten alive.
And look, like me, love me. Unfortunately, a lot of people don't like me or love me in the coffee industry. I've not only survived, but thrived for 25 years.
Yeah.
And I've done it through an economic crash in 2007, 2008, which was scary and massive. I've lived through a coffee market that reached $3 in 2010. And in every side of that, we've actually improved and grown. And the reason we have is because those who were swimming naked were out of the game. And the market just grew for us. And we stepped in because we were prepared and we had foresight. I have, just so you know, my business model is I have a monthly cash flow budget that is to the penny between now and the end of 2024. And then I have an annualized budget for the next 8 years. I have a 10-year working budget at all times. And frankly, in my personal life too. If you don't have a vision and a plan and then be able to plug in the variables, interest rates are going to go up by 4%, or they may go down. Let me plug that into my model. Oh shit, that makes my cash flow negative. What do I need to change in my operational model or my costs or if you don't have that flexibility coupled with vision of trying to understand where economic variables will take us, you're just kind of showing up and you're at the mercy of the tide, and that tide is going to take you away or drown you. And to me, that is what business is trying to control your destiny. You never can really do it. But those of us who do the what if scenario playing and really feel sound with our models, we have a better chance. And that's how I've seen people come and go over 25 years. Yeah. And I think if there's anything you listen to from me, it's that importance, because I want people to be successful. A lot of people think, look, the coffee industry is riddled with people who want to be the last man standing, right? We're the most sustainable. We're the best. Look, I'm not against, and I want every small to medium business to thrive, because I want us all to then take over and squeeze out the very small, limited number of massive players that are the real issue. But it's like you hear that saying where you put two different ants in a jar and shake it. They're fine until you shake it up, and you're shaking it and they're fighting each other. Yep. That's kind of what's happening in coffee. Yep. The big players that are really the money, really the financing, they're not even in the conversation. They're not even at the trade shows. They're just kind of watching, counting their money and
laughing.
Like, yeah.
They're laughing at the rest of us. I guess, folks, the thing that we're saying, it's not don't open a business. What we're saying is get financially literate as a part of your preparing to open your business. It's not just about your fit out. It's not just about buying a roasting machine. It's not just about picking all the delicious coffees that you want to serve. Learn how to get financially literate and then make that a lifetime journey.
Yeah.
And which the next episode, I think, is my favorite of this whole series that we're about to have a discussion on, which is about leadership in specialty small business. So join us for the next episode. I can't wait to hear what you've got to say about that, Martin. Peace, love, and peanut butter, everybody. Have an amazing rest of your day. Thanks for tuning in, friends. There are 2 ways you can support this podcast. Firstly, become a paid member of our YouTube channel. Secondly, you can join our Patreon for as little as $3 a month. Don't forget to subscribe and like this video before you leave, and check the show notes for more information. Now, this is what you should check out next.